Hello and welcome to Life in the Mind, a neurodivergent podcast presented by neurodivergent people. I'm Murray Spear.
And I'm Joy Amy Wigman.
And we are here again with... Say your name.
Oh, Kat Faulkner.
I
Yeah.
didn't do that last time. For anyone not watching, I threw that at Kat.
Through the arms in her direction.
It's very generous. Thank you. My name is Kat.
And this is our
where it's at. Sorry.
This is our topic episode.
Yes.
So we're going to chat about a topic. And as Kat is an artist, we thought we'd talk about
Neurodivergence in art.
Yeah,
being arty, autistic. Artistic, autistic. I had to say it once.
He had to do it.
To say it at least
he
once.
did it off air. Has to do it on
air. It was
air.
one of the first things I jumped on when I found out I was autistic. I was like, I'm now an autistic. This is great.
Yay! It's actually been like a weird week for this. So this week I learnt about somebody I'd never heard of that I feel like I should have heard of, who's Stephen Wiltshire, who is an autistic artist, and he was non-verbal until he was 4. And but he would love drawing and stuff, and so they figured the way to get him talking was to take his art supplies away and make him ask for them. And so his first actual words were in nursery, and he said pen and paper because he was demanding that they were given back.
That's both.
It's awful,
fascinating
but
and
also
awful.
it's a horrible thing to do.
Yeah.
But he's famous for his cityscapes and being able to
Memorise them
entirely.
Yeah.
Just seeing them once and then be able to do an entire panoramic cityscape.
Yeah.
He's got that savant level photographic.
Yes.
Of just
Yeah.
can look at it, blink it in his brain and go, yep, down.
Which I learned about this week on. It was on the Cabinet of Curiosities, Aaron Mankey, which is one of my preferred podcasts.
Podcast of Joyce.
Yeah, and so I guess it's this conversation is about how neurodivergence works with artistic leanings.
Brain stuff.
Just before it jumps out of my mind on a similar thing, I don't know if you guys saw that Everything Everywhere All at Once film.
Yes.
Which when I went and saw it, I was like, oh, it's how my brain is. It's so packed and full. And I found it's directed by the Daniels, and there was a really beautiful Twitter thread by one of the Daniels who I might be wrong, this got diagnosed with ADHD either right before or through the process.
Oh, wow.
And he talked about how minimalism is often the thing that's lauded as the highest form of art.
Yeah.
And one of their reference points when making the film is this illustration of a wave that is filled with so many small illustrations. But as a big piece, you can see it's a big wave. And the thing with the film was it's this maximalist thing where even though it's so many things, it kind of it takes you along one thing and it has one heart and tells you one story. I mean, he doesn't say it like that. That's butchering his words. But I found, I think... ADHD, and I often describe it as feeling a bit like having a popcorn brain. My brain will just be too many ideas and it feels so much. And art is a way of kind of calming that and channeling that and processing that. And I just found I went and watched that film 3 times in the cinema. It felt, despite its busyness and absolute craziness, it felt quite calming to me in that way. And I think that I'm quite interested by the rise of maximalism in fashion and art at the same time as the rise in ADHD diagnoses. I think it's quite an interesting parallel.
It's the last episode with you about dopamine dressing.
Oh, yeah.
And that, I feel that's become more a thing, flashy dressing in a way of literally it's flashing. It's flashing, it's reflecting, or it's really fancy or just slightly quirky there's been a surge in it.
I think people are feeling more confident in more less trying to like mask and code switch into what fits the norm. Like I have a shop and we painted it bright blue, but it was, and I wanted, the original plan was to cover it in like a huge mural with dragons and creatures and animals and all these like different things. And then we couldn't get planning permission for that. And we only really just got allowed to paint it blue because they want everything to fit in with the, and you realise how many things that, like, you think everything's kind of like grey and beige because everybody chooses that, but it's also kind of regulated that it should be that.
Yeah.
So like the fact that like people are beginning to like, or increasingly stepping away from that and bringing a bit more honesty about like our heads and our hearts and the colourfulness of it. Or there, I mean, not that hasn't always happened, but there seems to be more of a resurgence of it. I mean, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not dressed that way today because I've just moved house and I can't find anything. But my best friend says that I dress like a children's TV presenter from the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's my aesthetic. That's what I do. I'm bright dungarees, stuff that doesn't match.
Yeah, art supply
big boots.
t-shirts. It's
Yes,
the vibe. Yeah,
absolutely. And I feel like now if I went back to an office job, I would still dress like that.
Yeah.
Whereas like 10 years ago when I was last in an office job, popped up on Facebook memories, me quitting my last office job that I ever did. Woohoo! I felt like, yeah, you need to conform. But now it feels a little bit more like you can like make the art out of yourself. And the same with tattoos as well. People being more like accepted for having tattoos when you go into a job. It's still like
different
ridiculous. And different hairstyles, you know. I'm like I'm looking at Kat because she's not only she's got rainbow hair, but she's shaved on one side like mine is.
Yeah.
Well, although actually mine's really long at the moment. So
I call it a head hamster when it gets past a certain length.
Oh my gosh, that is exactly,
And then when it's like cut, fine, and then you get one piece of hair going over, it's called smeagling.
Oh yeah. Gosh.
Get too excited about your decisions, have both hairstyles. It's
fine.
Yeah.
But I know with writing in that kind of art form, I've become really interested lately in the neurodivergent process of writing. So I'm currently doing a master's in creative and critical writing, and I did my undergrad first, and I always found it very difficult to have something to give to like the writer's room feedback session, not because I hadn't done anything, but because I had done something that nobody else would understand until I piece it together, because I don't write from the beginning to the end. I don't, I have little post-it notes in my head that go here, 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 here. Or I might not plan it at all. It might just be a stream of consciousness that then gets pulled apart and put in different ways. And I feel like it feels like there's more of it feels more creative to me to be doing something that way. Like the same thing on a canvas. Like, I don't think, do people start at one corner and then work their way out, or do they move about and do what they feel?
But you have to approach it in your own feel. Like, and you're not going to be able to follow the rules if you're coming at it with neurodivergence.
No.
So,
And you can so easily cut yourself off by trying to do it in the way that... Because I remember when we first started working together, we really related on that writing thing of like, I write from the middle outwards, or just like random bits and stuff. And I definitely struggled whenever I've tried to be like, but I have to they want me to do a plan of the essay before and submit that before. And so I just went, but I can't do that. I can't do that. And I can't do that. Until the teacher eventually just went, okay, you literally can't do that. Just write the essay, and we'll just if there's any alterations, just try it again. Because I would just write it. It was just be the essay. That's not how my brain works. It's just there. It's done.
Yeah, I like if I'm doing research for a writing bit, which I do a lot of research while I'm writing, which might be why it takes me so long to write stuff, because then I get on like that little that little focus hole that you just keep going, the rabbit hole that you keep going down. And then I'll just do links to all of the research things that I've looked at, so that when I write the essay, I'm just going to build it around the random stuff that I've done. It's very difficult to be my my dissertation tutor. Sorry, Duncan. You're doing a great job, mate.
Shout out to Duncan.
Shout out to Duncan, because I'm a nightmare. And I guess like
something you were saying in the last episode, Kat, about your life. Sorry, that was a pleasant noise. Need to drink more water. Was that? Oh, I'll do it. It's fine. I'll do it later. Sure, you will, said the ADHD brain. No, it's all right. Just a reminder to self, note to self, and note to anyone else who hasn't drunk enough water today.
Hydrate.
Drink water. It's good
and
for you.
And go to the loo if you need the loo.
Yeah.
All the basic reminders.
We all know you're holding on. Off you go.
Yeah.
Is it 4 a.m. in the morning and have you slept yet? Random ADHD help. But yes, you were saying about how your dyslexia and actually spelling things in an interesting way, you've kind of made into a business and through your creative practice. The punny illustration-y cardy things.
Really
Pun
illustrations, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I make mistakes in writing through dyslexia, and then will enjoy those mistakes and turn them into puns and then illustrate them. I mean, I've drawn perpetually my entire life. I think it's been, with a busy-brained person, drawing is something that's quite good at like calming a brain. So I think I've definitely retreated to that, or like found a lot of joy in that. I also like really love communicating. That's the right word.
Yeah.
I enjoy communicating with other people and like trying to make them smile. Like I've always, that's been a like driving force in my life. So doing the puns and the cards kind of like just fits that, and like it brings those things together. And a lot of the puns that I do with our greetings cards, a lot of them, we call them multi-pun cards. They've got like 9 different puns on, and it's that tangential thing of like not just stopping, just keeping the joke going and like finding all the different ways of doing something. I also got really into doing almost like Where's Wally-esque scenes, because it's that thing of like loving detail and maximalism and just bringing that. But I also, I take a sketchbook with me everywhere. I now do, so I do my, I have Jelly Armchair, which is the greetings card business, doing the puns and cards.
I knew that's where I'd seen you. Yeah, when you said about painting the shop blue, and I was like, well, that sounds like Jelly Armchair. I love Jelly Armchair.
Oh, yay. So I do Jelly Armchair, and then I also now illustrate at people's weddings. So I do guest portraits and ceremony pieces on the day. I travel to weddings and work for 9 hours and just draw and draw and draw, very much non-stop. I have to take an assistant with me. Like, they're amazing because they do all, manage the queue and stuff, but they also like make sure I drink and go to the loo, because I wouldn't, because it's a hyper-focus thing. But it also means like like my friend who does it as well also is ADHD, and if we got given the number of drawings we had to do in a day as like a job to do to set ourselves, like they just wouldn't happen. But because you're there and the people are in front of you and you're chatting and interacting and feeding off the energy and putting that into the work, it's so good for this type of brain. It excels for it. I mean, I've spent my life doing doodles of people on buses and trains, like Murray's been drawn when we've been doing like theatre as teenagers. Like, I will sit and draw people. It's how I function. So like, I'm very lucky in that my bad spelling has resulted in a business, and my like aggressively drawing strangers has resulted in a business. I think like, that unique way of brain working is definitely like, can be such a fun thing to harness into artistic creation.
Like, because I do drawing in exactly the same way, in terms of like, I've always used it as kind of the coping and processing things and calming down the brain when it's going popcorn brain mode and stuff like that and getting stuff out. But I remember going back to us doing Shakespeare as teenagers. We did touring productions. Fun. It was very fun. It was really good fun.
Yeah.
But we both didn't find learning lines that easy.
Oh no, yeah,
and
terrible.
Especially I think once I got into it and I could do it, but you came up with this brilliant thing of illustrating your lines.
Yeah.
And you used to sit in rehearsal and actually draw out the lines almost. It's like you would draw the scene and
each
that
thing had a
helped
thing.
you get it through.
I'm such a visual learner.
Yeah.
I've always
That's
been
great.
that. All of every lecture was pages of illustrations. Like but everything I had to break down into pictures. But that's how my brain understands the world. I think it's very visual.
It's interesting because it's one of the things when it was probably when I found out about my autism, and then when it was journey of then working out ADHD is also in there. I then was looking at I've always drawn. I've always needed to draw, and I find comfort in it. I've found it very useful at difficult times, like when I was still having to go into school during some very difficult times to process some of the other stuff that was coming in whilst trying to still do school stuff. But once I had all of those knowledge things coming in, I was like, okay, if I start applying this in the way that Kat did when we were little and did Shakespeare stuff, I literally, so now I will, and Johnny's been witness to this, I doodle in meetings instead of taking notes or anything, and I can look back at the drawing and replay the meeting in my brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is, but it's
I love that it came from you.
I love that's. It's a real honour, Murray.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I mean, I was at I know that you guys do too, but I was at D&D last night.
Yay!
And I all of the sessions I doodle through so that I can remember what's happened and stuff like that. Like it's just a way of taking track of. And it's so do you know what? It's so lovely. I mean, the bad side is that I have so many sketchbooks that are littering and cluttering my life. I'm definitely, not a minimalist in that respect either. But I will sit and go through old ones and then send pictures to friends of being like, remember this holiday, remember this funny thing you said, and they'll be like, I have no memory of it, but I love that there's that of it. It's such a way of recording a life and taking a moment and I love. Making art is the immortalization of stuff, and it's so nice to have that of moments, especially with, I don't know if it's an ADHD thing, but my memory is absolutely dog crap.
Yeah. I think that is an ADHD thing.
Just being able to process stuff, going to galleries and drawing stuff and being able to process it through drawing. I've got a sketchbook in my bag. Now I feel uncomfortable if I don't have it physically. Yeah. So
or at least a pen, so you can find something to draw on.
A surface.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a connection on the writing side in that under the bed there's just boxes and boxes of notebooks that I will not let my husband throw away because in there are so many ideas and things that I've written while in certain places and that have certain memories, and I can't go anywhere without a notebook.
You just need to it's like an extension of your brain. Also if you're somebody where your brain feels full, again it's that thing of having somewhere for stuff to spill to.
It's got to go somewhere.
It's got to go somewhere because otherwise it just bubbles and pops,
and then explodes. And then confetti goes everywhere.
It's a lovely little meltdown. What do you know?
Because I have the thing where I remember so much. I have almost too good a memory. But once it goes into long term, then I just absorb so much information. And it's not even it's hard information. It's just information. It's just stuff.
Yeah.
And so my brain is so full.
Yeah.
And if I can access it, it's great. But like you were saying, using art to actually put some of that down on paper, just kind of streamline it and order it slightly, get it into my mind nebula in a more
put it in the box.
Storage.
Exactly.
Big yellow storage for your brain.
And actually create those links. I think art helps make those links so that it can be accessed more readily or better. And it also like a journaling in a way.
Yeah, it is. It's artistic journaling.
It's how we would.
I hate to be that person, but I'm going to have to wrap it up. I'd love to talk to you all day, but we can't. So homework for you guys. I'd like to know how you feel about the sort of your connection with creativity and art in whatever form it takes, and how it works for you and those connections. Thank you so much for coming in, Kat. It's been great.
Brilliant.
Okay, folks, that's it for this episode. You can follow us on Instagram at life.inthemind. Our other socials are linked in our bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. See you next time.